What's up guys, welcome back to the Coordinate. So today we are going to learn UML diagrams from the low level design series. Previously we have gone through the overview of low level design, what all components will be there, from how high level design to we can transform it to the low level design, and what is the significant importance of a UML diagrams. So if you haven't watched that video, go to my low level design series and watch the overview session first. Alright, today we are going to learn more about UML diagrams. Now let's get started. So UML diagrams, as we know, that is a set of graphical representation of your system or your component that will be beneficial or very helpful to model your system in an object-oriented analysis way. Alright, so you have a different set of diagrams or graphical views of your system or components, which will give you different perspective of your component, like how your system will behave or how or what is the structure of your component. Okay, so it's again a collection of diagrams, so and it is in a representation way, so it will be also easy for developers or business people or your architecture to understand what sort of a function this component is intended for, right? So using this UML diagrams, because UML diagrams do not have any language, it is just a plain graphical way of representing your whole component with a different 14 diagrams we have, so that gives you the overview of what is the purpose of this component. All right, so if we give what all benefits that we can get with UMLs, then it will be easy or quickly we can understand the software, how what intended or what is the purpose of this component. Okay, and this will be also very helpful in a way that we can break your whole complex system into multiple pieces within with the UML diagram, and it will be easy to understand from that perspective. All right, also there are multiple diagrams within the UML diagrams which will be useful to understand decision or design decision that we took during your low level design. And as it's a graphical way of representation, so it will be easy to transform or hand over your current system to the new team that is coming up. These are some of the benefits we can get with UML diagrams. So based on your structure and behavior of the components, these diagrams can be splitted into the two different categories. One is a behavioral diagrams, and other one is a structure UML diagrams. So behavioral UML diagrams will give you the overview of what is the purpose of component, what all functions that it will support, and structure diagrams will give you how this component will be structured. All right, so let's understand that. So out of this 14 UML diagrams, we will discuss 4 main UML diagrams which will be more useful with respect to your low level design. So from structural side we will discuss a class diagram, and from the behavioral side we will discuss a sequence diagram as well as use case and activity diagrams. So these 4 is main diagrams which will be helpful to understand your whole system as a low level design. All right, so let's get started. First we will go through the behavioral UML diagrams, and then we will at the end we will take a class diagram. All right, so now let's start with a use case diagram first. All right, so use case diagram are used to analyze the system's high level requirements. It will be expressed through the different use cases, and those use cases can be observable and can be a value results for the actors. So here actors is nothing but the user who is using our system. Okay, so it gives you the high level functional behavior, what system does from the user perspective, and it also rules out what system will do and what system will not do. All right, so these are the information we can get it once you have your use case diagram ready for the system. Okay, so let's take an example that in the previous session we took that user service we have, which is managing the user's data. So if we try to make a use case diagram, or if we talk about use cases, so what all use cases that system will have, let's say, so that system will have a use case. Let's say I should be able to create a user, I should be able to update the user, I should be able to delete the user, and I should be able to search a user if I would like to search based on name or a first name or a last name. So these are the some of the use case that if I have a user service, then that should support this kind of operations. All right, so if we would like to design or draw a use case for them, then it would be look like this way. So you have a system. So here the admin and guest is nothing but your users who is going to use this system. So we called it as an actor who is going to be use our system. For admin and guest user, let's say admin can create a user that he can update the user, he can delete the user. Okay, and from the guest perspective, he just only able to search a user. Now the search user can have different other functionality also based on, like, it can be search user is a one kind of a parent function, let's say parent use case, which also have a sub use case as a search by first name, search by last name also. And for the create user, update and delete, there could be other included flow also, which could be like when I create a user, I also should be able to create a address for that user. So this kind of a use cases we can create for our previous service, which was a user management. All right, so here if you see some of the terminology in the use case diagram, we should understand. So those are like, what is a system boundary? So here if you see this, whatever the box that we drawn, that is your system boundary. So out of this system boundary, whatever is written, that will be not in the scope. And what is actor who is using this system, who all could use this system? Now your actor could be a human being, or it is not really need that your actor could be a human being, but there could be a cases where your actor could be a system itself. All right, so let's say if there is a automated email is getting sent for the user, then in that case your user is going to be system itself, because automated mail triggering can be happen from the system itself. So your user can be human being or it cannot be a human being. All right, so use case is nothing but your discrete functionality given in the problem or a high level, and then we split into the different small requirements. All right, so include is nothing but one use case having a call to the other use case. So here if we create a user, then at the same time we also create a user address, right? So here if you see create user includes also creating a address for that user. All right, and extend is again the same way. What extend will do is, like, you have one main use case which is having a generic way, and then we have a sub use cases where it is more specific to that main use case. So if you see here, the search user is a main use case, but there are many different filters we have, that is a different use cases. So search by first name, search by last name. So these are the extended use cases to your search user. So this is what your use case diagram will look like for any of the system if you draw. So during your low level design, if you are drawing your use case diagram, first thing is to just write it down what all use case you have, who all are your actor, and then start drawing a use case diagram. All right, so the next UML diagram we have is a activity diagram. So if you see in the use case diagram, it gives you more detail at a high level how what all functions that system will support, whereas activity diagram will give you more granular level details, that how each individual use case, if we would like to execute, then what all steps it will do. So it more showcase the flow control of your functional use cases, right? It emphasizes more on a conditional flow of your sequence of the use case, how if we would like to execute in the system, how the conditional way that use case can be executed. And here the activity is nothing but the operations that we can perform on an entity or on an object that results in a change in its state. All right, so mainly the activity diagram will be helpful to showcase your use case, how it will be executed, the step by step, to model the workflows, that is nothing but your use case, or the business processes or the internal operations that can be showcased with the activity diagram. So let's say if we would like to showcase our one of the operations from the previous service, that user service that we took, we would like to create activity diagram for the delete user operation. Okay, so in the delete user, let's say if we would consider I would like to perform a delete user operation, then what all my activity could be. So as a user, first thing that I would do is for example, I will go on a browser and open the browser. Now there are two conditions, whether that web portal for the user service loaded or not loaded. So if it is loaded, then I will go and search a user which I would like to delete it. So for search user, as a result, there will be two results, whether you were able to search a user or not. Okay, so based on whether you were not able to search it or search it, let's say you were not able to search it, then you will go back to again with a search screen, change your search parameter and retry the same. Now let's say if you are able to search it, then you will go to the view user page detail, you will go over there and you will try to delete from there. All right, now there will be in the result, that could be like you will be able to delete it or you face some error. So when you able to delete it, then there will be a end of your activity for the delete user. If you were not able to delete it, you will go back to the user page and you will retry it. So this is what the sort of a sequence or a steps or activity that we can perform in your delete user operation. So if you would like to showcase in the activity diagram, that will be look like this way. So every activity diagram, there will be start and end, where it will initiate the your activity steps and then it will be terminated with the end. Okay, so if you say here, first during start, we started with the activity that customer will open web portal, and then we check whether user is present or not. If it is present, then we will go to the user detail page and we will try to delete the user. If user is deleted, then we will terminate the flow. Otherwise we will go back and we will retry to delete it. Same goes for the user search also. If we were able to search the user, then we will go to the user page. Otherwise, modified your user search criteria, then you can search it again. So there are more building blocks for the activity diagram. So ultimately activity diagram will be look like more or less near to the your flow charts, but it's not a really flow chart. Sometimes activity diagram will also showcase the parallelization or parallel process that it executes during that operation. So there are more components to the activity diagram. I have listed down a link for if you would like to go in detail how to showcase different activity and state within the activity diagram. So the next diagram we have is a sequence diagram that will be give you more detail at a ground level. So if you see in the activity diagram, we have seen that gives you the flow or a control how it goes from functional perspective. So that won't give you the much detail that at the code level how the sequence or how the steps will be performed. All right, so the sequence diagram will be helpful to understand how at the code level that sequence of the steps will be executed. All right, so sequence diagram describes the interaction between different objects in terms of exchanging messages over a time, and are used to more to explore the logic of a complex algorithm or your operations. All right, in the sequence diagram, mainly it can be a whole use case can be described in the sequence diagram, or it can be a mainly a complex logic where you need to understand more detail how your different objects will behave or how they will communicate with each other. All right, so in the sequence diagram, mainly there will be two dimensions. In the vertical dimensions, we will always be having a sequence of messages that can be represented in the chronological order, and in the vertically we will put all the objects which will be a part of that sequence. So let's say for our previous service user service, let's say we would like to create a sequence diagram for the delete user. Now in the delete user, for example, we are taking two operations. One is first we will search the user, and when we found a user, then we will call for the delete the user. All right, so this is what the sequence diagram look like for your delete user operations. Okay, so here in the vertical dimension, we will always showcase a different message that will be communicated in a chronological order or in a time fashion, and on a horizontal line we will showcase different objects that will be part of that communication. So here, if this line boxes is nothing but your objects. So we have user service that creates a transaction and then calls a DAO to get the user first as a search operation, and then once we found the user, then we will call a delete on top of that user to delete this. So it will initiate the search user, then search user will be passed from transaction layer to the DAO that will give back you the user, and that will be passed flow through the user service. And again, after once it will get the user, it will initiate the delete user. So again it will be goes to your DAO layer, then it will delete it, and again it will be succeeded. Okay, so if you see mainly here, the sequence diagram is mainly gives you the detail at the ground level, how different object state will change or transition from one state to the other state by showcasing the objects and message in between those objects. All right, so the main difference between, if you see between activity and sequence diagram, is that activity diagram will give you more generic details of your functional model or behavior of the use case, whereas your sequence diagram will give you detail at the object level, how their state will change, and it gives more detail at how they will communicate between each other when there is a complex logic will be executed. So this is the main difference between activity and sequence diagram. All right, so I think almost we have completed all the behavioral diagrams. This is the three main behavioral diagrams that we would like to take as a part of this. Next diagram we left with is a class diagram, that we will create a separate session on that. Before that, we will try to understand some of the object oriented concepts also. So stay tuned for the more sessions on a low level design. All right, so that's it in this session. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do like, share and subscribe. We still have a few more basic concepts which we will first clear before we move to the actual case studies. So stay tuned for more sessions on a low level design. See you in the next video. Till the time, bye bye.